Chord's Chord of the Week.
This chord is actually an entire bar, a 6/4 bar in the second part of the Rite of Spring by Stravinsky. The Mystic Circles is the name of the movement, and there's so much going on in these 6 beats that I wanted to focus on the entire bar. And there are 3 or 4 specific chords that I think are all interesting that I think we can turn into exercises for you to practice. So here's the chord in context. Or I should say chords. It's several chords. First I want to focus on beat 3. That chord right there, which is, you could call it a C diminished major 7, but I always want to go to the most orderly thing in my brain, which is this B major triad that's outlined on the outside of the voicing, and then we have a C in the middle, which would be the flat 9 of this B. So you could condense it and think of the chord as this, but he has it voiced this way. And it's just a really interesting thing to do. It's so simple.
It's so simple.
To just take a triad and add an extension in the middle of it. And when we usually think of extensions, we think like a B7 with an add 9 and a sharp 11 and a flat 13. You know, when we think about upper structure things, it's sort of a triad above a triad, or a triad above a shell voicing. That's what we usually think of when we say extensions. It's an extension above an octave. Anything above this B, you know, the 9th, the 13th, those kind of things. But doing an open-voiced, inverted triad like this, and just sticking that extension in the middle, and there's no 7th, there's no 13th, it's just a flat 9 in the middle of a triad, we can call this a B sharp 9, a B flat 9. So that's the first chord. The second chord comes on the next beat. And in context, it's... So this chord here, first, is just a tritone from E flat and a tritone from D. 2 tritones that are a major 7th apart from each other. And the upper voice drops to there. And notice what we have now. In the top 3 voices, we have a D major triad. And this bottom voice is the flat 9 of that D major triad, right? It mirrors what we saw before on beat 3, B flat 9. And here we have D flat 9. Now both of these chords on beat 4 and on the end of 4 are both interesting. I love that chord just by itself. I know I use the word love. I don't really love it. You know, I feel good about it. But it's a different kind of love. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, you could look at it like this also. We have a 4th in the middle, and there's a symmetry to this chord where we go in a tritone from either direction, from the D up a tritone and from the A down a tritone. So it's sort of a mirror voicing in a way, right? 4th here, and then tritones in either direction on that first chord. And then, so that's the second chord. And then finally we have on beats 5 and 6, I think of, in the same way that I thought of beat 4 as sort of an entity. It's not one chord, it's 2. But I think of that as its own unit, its own germ, its own entity. Beat 5 and 6 give us this. The first chord is just a F sharp 7 sharp 9. Nothing essentially special about that. I mean, it's basically the Hendrix chord, right? It's a 7 sharp 9. It's Foxy Lady if we were in F. It's Hendrix. But what makes this interesting is where he moves from this F sharp 7 sharp 9 to this second chord on beat 6 of the bar, which is C minor 7 with a sharp 4. That's an interesting chord. Think of a C minor 7, right? Or, you know, but put an F sharp in there. Okay, now we got something else. But he moves by preserving this melody. Can you dig it? I will admit that with this electric piano, everything I'm playing kind of sounds like a slow jam. So I mean, we could take this Stravinsky thing, we could totally slow jam it out. We could be like 3, 4. Or not. I mean, we don't have to do that, but somebody should. So let's move on to some exercises. The first exercise is to take this first chord, this B major flat 9, and do what we always do, which is just move it exactly as it is around the circle of fourths with an open voicing major triad, and then 9, flat 9, excuse me. E, A, D, G, C, F, and continue moving through the cycle. Another one we could do with this is just to take that simple B major and add the flat 9 right in there. We could cluster this voicing like this. Next is to take beat 4, which was this, and guess what? Move that counterclockwise around the circle of fifths. If you want to think of this as a D major, which I kind of do, let's see if I can even do this. Let's try it. Man, it sounds so good.
So good! So good! So good!
And the final exercise is to take beats 5 and 6, and I'm going to tweak it a little bit. So instead of doing this F sharp to what's written, to this C minor 7 with the sharp 11, the F sharp on top, I think it's more interesting for myself to do 2 7 sharp 9 chords in a row that are a minor third apart. So we have this F sharp 7 sharp 9, and then we go down to an E flat 7 sharp 9, like that. So instead of going to here, right, we go here to the second chord. That would be our kind of what would be the beat 6 that's on the score. To me, there's a symmetry to it that I just like as an exercise. You can do whatever you want with it, but for me, I like this. So let's move that around the circle of fifths, and we'll start on F sharp. So that's how much gold there is in one bar of the Rite of Spring. Harmonically, it's one of the most interesting and creative and amazing pieces of music. There's so much in it, which is why I've devoted so much time to doing videos about the Rite of Spring, specifically the harmony and the voicings. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and happy practicing.
Yeah. Who this? This beat. Yo, who this? Yo, who this? Who this?